I'm Steve from the Carmichael workshop. And today I'm going to show you how I made this set of barn doors. My neighbor wants to be able to close off his formal living room / office with a pair of sliding barn doors in case he needs to use that room as a spare bedroom. So I measured the opening into the room, and it's 72 inches wide by 89 inches tall. So I need to build 2 doors that will cover that entire opening. These barn doors must be mounted out from the wall a little bit so that they can slide freely along the track at the top. You also need to work around any molding and baseboards that the doors need to slide in front of. And when you close the doors, this could cause some wide gaps where you can see through the side cracks. So I'm going to add an extra inch to the width of both doors so that they fully overlap the door opening. So the doors I'm going to make are going to be 37 inches wide by 90 inches tall. Now those are some big doors for me to make in my small shop here on my wife's side of the garage. If you went out to try to buy some barn doors this size, they'd be very expensive. So you can save a lot of money by making them yourself. There are a lot of tutorials and videos out there that can show you how to do it, and it just takes some effort. 2 videos I found to be very helpful were from April Wilkerson of wilkerdo's.com and also Aaron over at the Mr. Fix-It channel. And I'll include links to their videos in the video description below, so make sure you check those out. I found that the key to making these barn doors is to do some careful measuring and lots of planning. So let's get started. For this pair of barn doors, I went to the home center and picked up 6 8-foot 2x6s, 12 8-foot tongue and groove planks, and 1 8-foot pine 1x4. I used my 3/4 inch wide dado set to cut 1 inch deep grooves in the sides of the 2x6s and then cut them to length for the rails and stiles. Then I used the dado set to cut the tenons on the end of the rails so that they will fit into the grooves and the stiles. It's a good idea to cut some test pieces first to make sure everything fits correctly. I used my miter saw to cut the tongue and groove planks that will make up the panels to length. Here are all the pieces that make up one barn door. There are 2 long stiles and 3 short rails. Notice the middle rail has a groove on both sides to accept the top and bottom panels. The doors are glued together, and I started by gluing the 3 rails into one of the sides. Once the glue dried, I was able to slide the tongue and groove planks into place for the panels. I used a small hand plane to chamfer the corners of the side so that it would be easier to glue on the other stile. This would have been a great time to have some Big Bessie clamps, but since I don't have any Big Bessie, I just had to use Big Belly. I resawed the 1x4 into thinner boards for the diagonal pieces and just glued them on. I gave the doors a good sanding and then laid them out in the shop for painting. My neighbor selected some semi-gloss white paint, and I applied 2 coats to each door. Here are the finished doors, and you can see how much room they take up in my shop. Let's move on to the hardware. I made the hardware out of steel flat bar that was 2 inches wide and 3/16 of an inch thick. I cut 4 15-inch long pieces for the top of the doors and 1 107-inch piece for the top rail. I drilled matching holes in each of the 4 pieces so that you can mount them onto the wheels and the doors. I used my sander to remove any sharp edges. I painted all of the steel flat bar pieces and the mounting hardware flat black, and then I attached the wheels to the doors. Here you can see the finished doors ready to be hung, so let's move on to mounting the track to the wall. I cut a standard 2x4 to 107 inches, painted it white, and then mounted the rail to the 2x4. I checked above the door opening to make sure there was a header and some studs so that I could drill mounting holes 16 inches on center. I got lucky and I was able to mount the track securely to the wall with 8 4-inch lag screws. The doors mounted on the track perfectly. They also cleared the walls and the floor, and they met up nice and even in the middle when closed. Now that the doors are installed, let's take a look at some of the details that you need to think about if you want to add a barn door to your home. Not all doorways are good candidates for these barn doors. You need to make sure that you have some extra wall space on the side so that the doors can slide open. Now in this situation, we have an adjoining wall on this side and an open corner over here. And only space enough for each door to slide open halfway. But it kind of works out here because you end up with one door's width of space that you can walk through. You'll want to add some handles to the doors to make them easier to open. This homeowner is going to buy some handles from the hardware store and attach them to both sides. But you can also route out some recesses if you want a different look. I'm glad I added that extra inch of width to both doors so that they fully overlap the opening. That really reduces the gap that you can see through on the sides. One detail that I paid close attention to that is purely aesthetic is to make sure the lines in these panels are centered in the door opening. So whether you use these tongue and groove planks or siding that has grooves in it, you want to make sure you cut your panels so that these lines fall in the center of the opening. Don't forget to account for any baseboards, shoe molding, or door trim that will dictate how far out from the wall you mount the doors. In this case, we hung the doors so that they would hang above the shoe molding, and we used a felt pad that the doors can rest against when they slide open. These barn doors weigh 60 pounds each, so it's very important that the track at the top is mounted to solid wood. Now, most door openings will have a solid header across the top, and in this case I screwed 4-inch lag screws into the header, and then also we had some studs on both ends that I was able to attach it to. I definitely would not trust hanging these barn doors using drywall anchors alone, so that's something to check before you start to hang the doors. You'll need to add something to the end of the track to stop the door. You can use an L bracket or make something out of wood. In this case, we just hit a screw behind the track and screwed it in halfway, and the wheel bumps into it. And that works just fine for this family. These doors are hanging freely, and you can see that you can swing them out from the wall pretty far. This is about 2.5 feet. You have to actually try pretty hard to get them to come off the track. But if you have small children, I recommend you buy or make a bracket for the bottom of the door that will keep the doors from swinging out. I think the most complicated part of this project was figuring out all of this hardware and how to mount the doors onto the wall. Now, in this case, a standard 2x4 thickness was just perfect for the distance that we wanted to come out from the wall. Also, you need to make sure that you hang the rail so that it's up above the 2x4 or mounting board so that the wheels can rest on it. A couple other things to think about when you're working all this out is you need to make sure the distance between the top of the door and the bottom of the wheel is wide enough so that you can put the door on the track. And one thing I did add later were a couple of washers in between the wheel and this bracket so that this bar would clear the lag screw heads. Well, I'm really proud of how these barn doors turned out, and the homeowners like them too. I have to say I was a bit hesitant to take on this project because I do have such a small shop and these doors are huge. Plus, I've never built a set of barn doors before, so it was a fun project and a good challenge. In total, all the supplies I used to do this came out to about $200, and it took me about 25 Carmichael hours to build these, paint them, and get them installed. So if you'd like some more details, some more photos, a complete supply list of everything I used, make sure you visit my website at thecarmichaelworkshop.com. If you like this video, please click the like button and let me know in the comments below what you think of these barn doors. If you've made a barn door or two yourself and you have some additional tips, please leave those in the comments as well so that they can benefit others. If you would like a barn door or two in your home and you don't have the tools to build them, then maybe you could share this video with a friend or family member who can help you out. If you're new to my channel, please consider subscribing and be sure to check out all my other project videos. As always, I want to thank all of you for watching, and I'll see you next time.